What is your hahaha, oh wait you're serious moment? Breaking news. People panic buying toilet paper. Me at home, hahaha. Me at grocery store, oh wait you're serious. When I was in college, myself and two friends went out to a cheap Chinese buffet for a weekday lunch. We were probably not particularly well groomed or dressed at the time, so at a nearby table there are a woman and a man having lunch, both dressed in business attire. After they finish, the woman, probably in her 20s, comes over to our table out of nowhere and starts chatting with us, making normal chit-chat. Kind of odd, but maybe she's just friendly. All of a sudden she asks, "Do you guys like to f***?" We just looked at each other and laughed nervously because how do you respond to that in this situation? She just stood there, completely serious. I don't even remember what we said to her after that. This was 20 plus years ago, but despite sounding like the beginning of a porno, it was only followed by another round at the buffet, not a gangbang. This was a few years ago. I forgot how the topic was brought up, but I clearly remember my older sister saying, "There aren't any modern buildings in Egypt, just pyramids." A random dude told me I'm girly because I know how to make scrambled eggs. I know how to make scrambled eggs. That's so gay. I once worked with a 50-some-year-old guy at my first job, who also happened to be a former crackhead. I added in that detail because his mannerisms and communication were clearly affected by his prior drug use, and he would sometimes laugh when he was telling serious stories. One day he was telling me a story about him accidentally setting fire to the woods when he was trying to cremate his dead pet frog when he was a little boy. I was laughing my ass off. Strangely so was he, until he looked me dead in the eye, with a face that's as serious as they get, and says I'm still not over it. I knew that look and knew he was actually being serious despite being in absolute hysterics with me while telling his story. I immediately felt like an asshole. He was cool about it though, thankfully. When my friend told me she was getting a divorce, I literally laughed and said, "Oh, sure you are." Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. I'm in Australia, and first heard the news of 9/11 on my morning Radio USA evening. I was stuck in traffic near the army base, and they announced it with sirens. To start off with, I thought it was a comedy sketch that I didn't think was particularly funny. I had a pretty dark sense of humor, too. Then I realized it was news. Holy shit. An intern at the vet I work at was a very sheltered Mormon. He came to work one day panicked. He had his first kiss the night before, asked the girl to marry him, and was concerned about his wedding date. He was absolutely convinced that he got her pregnant by kissing her. Absolutely convinced. It took me a long time to register what he was panicked about because it sounded so absurd. He'd delivered hundreds of kittens and puppies by then. I just thought he had also learned about human reproductive anatomy as well as animals by then. When my 60-year-old father told me he broke his hip paragliding into the roof of his hotel. After a panel discussion, I went to the hotel bar with one of the other panelists to discuss our work. I was 32, she was in her early 60s, I believe. As we drank, she became flirty. I thought it was fun, so I went along with it. When she invited me up to her room, I thought she was joking. She wasn't. It was quite awkward when I realized. Coworker was telling me the world was flat. I'd never met a real flat earther in the wild before that. Years back I dated a girl who would lie compulsively about random things. The first big example, I went to her place. She'd just got Assassin's Creed for the first time and was really getting into the story. Like a week later she was telling me how she'd just discovered her family were related to assassins from Florence. I thought it was a joke, but turns out she was serious. Had changed her surname to something Italian on FB and had already spread the lie about on social media. In my head I was like, I literally watched you play Assassin's Creed last week, but she was gorgeous. WAAAY out of my league. So I put up with this and other crazy shit for another 6 months before I gave up. New friend. I really shouldn't be doing so many extreme sports. but you gotta live your life, right? I'm gonna end up in a wheelchair by the time I'm 30. Me. Ha. I know, right? New friend. No, I mean really. I have a degenerative disease that's going to ruin my body by my 30s, so I'm trying to live my life now. When I was in high school, I received a message over MSN from a buddy saying, "Mitch is dead." Thinking he got into trouble, I responded with, "Haha, what did he do?" It turns out, he had a brain aneurysm while driving home from school. Someone wanted to euthanize the dog because when she was put outside alone in heat, she found a chihuahua and had ugly puppies that cost a breeding session. When we asked what that had to do with anything, he said the chihuahua's sperm is forever inside of her and can make those ugly puppies instead of the purebred. This dog was definitely not a purebred. When we said that things don't work that way, he said, "I know for a fact they do. That's why my daughter is half N-word. A N-word did my wife back when she was in her 20s, and his sperm stayed inside her until mine activated it. And we all know N-sperm is more violent, so it won." He was serious. I think that is the single most f***ed up thing in this whole thread. When I learned I had totally forgotten to attend almost every single class in one of my college courses, I forgot I had enrolled in it. A classmate asked me, "Haha, where have you been? You're never there when the teacher's taking attendance." And I was like, haha, funny. So anyway, how's oh wait Luckily it was only about a month into the semester and I managed to bring it back up to a low B. This is an anxiety dream that tons of people get, and you literally lived through it. That's terrifying. Someone once said to my friend, "Wait, you're Chinese? I always thought you were Asian." At the age of 18, my brother found out chipmunks weren't baby squirrels on a car ride. I used it against him at his wedding. It's ridiculous that tampon ads aren't banned. The fact they're allowed in public just goes to show that women have too much power. This wasn't in response to a particularly graphic ad that pushed any boundaries. Just a generic type about comfort and reliability. Took me a while to realize that he wasn't joking. I came into my job and my boss was running a bit late for an unknown reason. Now, my boss is the type of person to joke about anything, no matter how serious it is, and will pull it off with a straight face. We never really take him seriously unless it is directly related to work. He comes in after being late and after a bit, just casually says our close coworker had passed the previous night. I literally chuckled and said, "Yeah, sure," and blew it off. He then said that he died from a heart attack before he was set to go out with his buddies during the evening. I then said, "Oh wait, are you actually serious?" And he almost started crying right there and said, "Yes. I miss that man to this day. Really chill guy with some cool hobbies and volunteer work." I also feel so bad for my boss because they had known each other for years. Started a new job in a company where my boss worked in 2 different offices. He wrote himself a note on legal paper. He handed it to me and told me to fax it to the other office. Then he told me to call them and tell them to put it on his desk there so he could have it tomorrow when he arrived. I smiled because I thought he was playing a joke on the new guy. He was not. He loves faxing. I asked a coworker with what his son's name was, and he answered Legolas. After 2 seconds of laughing, I realized he wasn't laughing. His son is actually named Legolas. I listed my Ford Explorer for sale. A guy emailed me to trade his 2018 Kia Forte or something. I didn't really need one since my fleet already had a 2013 Kia Forte, but he emailed me a few times saying he wants my Explorer but owes money on his Kia. I said how much. He said it's an 8-year finance deal, so need to pay in total $45,000. And he wanted my car. I could buy that car right now for $25, $30K at the dealership, brand new. He was dead serious. My estranged auntie sending me a message to disinvite me to my sick but alive father's funeral because, wait for it, I had lunch with my little half-brother and sister, and that is disrespectful to my father. My father never let me and half-siblings meet before this lunch had occurred, and by meeting them, he disowned me. Literally. That's it. Just my up family. When I came back from lunch at work to find that one of the soft drink vendors, because at grocery stores they stock their own product, our stockers don't loaded the pallets wrong and a tower of pallets fell, spilling soda, tea, glass everywhere. The boss store manager just so happened to walk into the back room at the same time, looked at me, and was like, "You saw it. You're cleaning it up," thinking he was joking as he liked to do. I laughed it off. That's when he looked me dead in the eye and said, "No, I mean you're really cleaning it up because that's your job." Insert me spending the rest of my shift cleaning it up and my department head constantly calling me over intercom and getting yelled at and then written up the very next day because I didn't do my duties in addition to cleaning up that epic mess. Getting fired later that year was one of the best things to happen to me. Waking up from general anesthesia. One of the nurses by my hospital bed gently informs me that my heart had stopped while I was under. I thought I was dreaming for a while, and didn't take it seriously. Then my dad showed up, and I saw the panic on his face. Then I phoned my mum, and she had obviously been crying her eyes out. Then I took it seriously. New relationship with a super nice lady. Romantic weekend getaway. She suggests an afternoon float down a nearby river in a canoe. I know from experience canoeing is a serious test of relationship potential. My ex-wife and I couldn't even carry a canoe from the beach to the bay without getting into an argument. Anyhow, new relationship. Super nice lady. I'm determined to be a great team player and competent man. I have plenty of experience on the water. This should be a cinch. Canoe livery guy drives us to the drop-off. While he is taking the canoe off the trailer and telling us how long the float is and where the pickup point is, I am looking at the river, the wide, slow-moving river, the extremely slow-moving river, along with the fact that it is a blustery windy day. I can't for the life of me tell which way the river flows. Some leaves are floating left, some leaves are floating right. I toss in a stick and it just floats around in a circle. I'm starting to sweat. I figure I have a 50-50 chance of guessing correctly, but if I guess wrong it could be a disaster. Having to ask is a total embarrassment. I'm hoping the livery guy makes some reference to direction, but no. I'm desperately hoping to see someone else float by, but no. I picture us paddling upstream for 2 hours and being lost on the river. Livery guy hands us our paddles and says, "So, if there's nothing else, I'll see you in a couple hours. Have fun." I bite the bullet and decide that asking is the best way forward. Yeah. Which way is downstream? Livery guy and super nice lady both laugh, thinking I'm joking. No, I'm serious. Livery guy stops laughing and just points. I'm sure he was thinking that was the most stupid thing he had ever heard. We paddle downriver a bit and super nice lady says, "Boy, am I glad you asked. I thought downstream was the other way."